begins on the glowing planet Zylaris, home to the alien Princess Lyra, known across galaxies for her beauty, intelligence, and unmatched power. Narration sets the stage. Countless beings have crossed the stars to win her favor, yet none have ever impressed her. Quick flashes of extravagant alien suitors arriving, towering warriors, shape-shifting nobles, robotic geniuses, and mysterious interstellar lords. The princess observes each suitor with mild interest but remains unimpressed, her face unreadable. Each suitor attempts a display of power or wealth, but their efforts fail. For example, a warrior demonstrates strength but accidentally destroys part of the palace. A noble presents rare galactic jewels, but Lyra dismisses them with a single glance. The palace attendants whisper among themselves, "Will anyone ever catch her attention?" Meanwhile, a human named Alex arrives, much simpler in appearance, small, nervous, and clearly out of place among the extravagant aliens. Welcome to my channel Sci-Fi Love Story. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. The planet Zylaris glimmered under the light of 3 suns, casting long, shifting shadows across the crystalline towers of the royal palace. From its highest balcony, Princess Lyra watched the horizon with a calm, almost bored expression. For centuries, beings from across galaxies had traveled light years to court her. Kings, warriors, scholars, and nobles, all seeking her favor. Yet, not a single one had ever impressed her. Lyra's beauty was legendary. Her skin shimmered faintly like the polished surface of rare gemstones, and her eyes reflected distant stars. But more than that, she possessed the mind of a strategist, the heart of a ruler, and a spirit that refused to be awed by wealth or power alone. The galaxy spoke of her not just as a princess, but as a judge of character, a being whose attention could elevate someone to glory, or crush them entirely. It was mid-morning when the first wave of suitors arrived. The palace gates opened, revealing Jorath, a towering warrior from the planet Varkan. His skin was a deep green, and his muscles bulged beneath ornate armor that glittered with embedded crystals. He strode forward, confident, each step shaking the floor as if announcing, "I am worthy." Lyra sat, regal and still, her hands folded in her lap. She said nothing, she simply observed. Jorath bowed dramatically. "Princess Lyra, I have crossed 3 solar systems to prove my worth. My strength alone can protect you from any threat." Lyra raised a single eyebrow. "Strength alone is not enough," she replied coolly. "Protection is only as valuable as the cause it defends." The warrior frowned but pressed on. He lifted a massive sword, swinging. It threw a series of complicated spins. The sword glimmered with plasma energy, cutting through the air with a hum. A crowd of attendants and nobles gasped at the display. Yet Lyra did not flinch. She did not smile. She simply watched as Jorath's final swing sent a crystal vase crashing to the floor. The flowers spilled like liquid sunlight. The princess's lips curved ever so slightly, not in amusement, but in mild disappointment. "You may leave now," she said. Jorath's jaw dropped, and he stumbled backward, disbelief etched across his face. He had expected awe, admiration, maybe even a bow of submission. Instead, he received dismissal. One by one, the other suitors followed. Sivara, a shape-shifting noble from the Athean cluster, morphed her form into a dazzling array of colors and wings. "Behold my beauty, princess!" she exclaimed, her multiple eyes blinking in perfect synchronization. But Lyra remained unmoved, her eyes sharp, discerning. Beauty was only surface, she thought. Krelton, a wealthy merchant whose starship cargo held treasures from a dozen planets, rolled in a massive chest. Gold, jewels, rare minerals, all the wealth of distant worlds. "I bring you the universe, princess. Accept it, and I shall be yours." Lyra's gaze swept over the treasure, her voice soft but cutting. "I do not collect wealth. I seek understanding. I seek depth. These gifts tell me nothing about you." Whispers filled the grand hall. The attendants exchanged nervous glances. Even the older nobles murmured amongst themselves. Will anyone ever impress her? And then, the human arrived. Alex stepped off the transport ship with caution, adjusting the straps of his simple uniform. He was smaller than the average alien, his features soft and unassuming. Unlike the suitors before him, there was no fanfare, no shimmering weapons or glittering jewels. Only a nervous smile and an earnest curiosity in his eyes. The other suitors laughed at him immediately. "Is this a joke?" One of them snickered. "The princess deserves greatness, not him." Lyra's attention, however, did not waver. She leaned slightly forward on the balcony rail, her expression unreadable but her gaze sharp, fixed on the human. Something about him was different. Perhaps it was the absence of arrogance, or perhaps it was the quiet confidence beneath his nervous exterior. She could not yet name it, but her curiosity stirred. Alex bowed awkwardly. "Princess Lyra, it is an honor to be here," he said. His voice was soft but steady. There was no grand gesture, no dramatic proclamation. Just honesty. The hall erupted in quiet murmurs. Even the palace attendants were unsure how to react. This human, so simple, so fragile-looking, had walked into a court filled with powerful, magnificent beings, and yet he held himself with a dignity that made some of them pause. The princess finally spoke. "Tell me, human, why have you come?" Alex swallowed. "I wish to understand you, princess. Not to impress with weapons or riches, but to know who you are." A ripple went through the crowd. This was not the answer they expected. Most had come to showcase power, beauty, wealth, and influence. Not understanding. Lyra's lips curved into a faint, almost imperceptible smile. Perhaps she had seen glimpses of truth in many beings before, but this human carried something unfamiliar, something intriguing. Before the princess could respond further, chaos erupted. One of the alien suitors, Vorkas, a proud and arrogant noble from the Northern Star, sneered. "Do you seriously intend to entertain this human? He is nothing." But Alex did not react with fear or anger. Instead, he walked calmly toward a small machine at the center of the hall, the palace's central archive, powered by a complex energy core. The core had begun to malfunction, sparks flying dangerously close to the walls. Panic spread among the attendants, but Alex's eyes narrowed, focused. He knelt beside the machinery, examining the connections with careful precision. The other suitors mocked him, waving their arms dramatically and shouting insults, yet he ignored them. Within moments, he adjusted a few circuits, connected a series of wires, and the core stabilized, humming safely once again. The hall fell silent. The aliens stared in disbelief. None had been able to approach the problem. They had relied on raw strength, wealth, or power, and all had failed. Yet this small human had succeeded quietly, without drama or fanfare. Lyra's eyes were fixed on him. She had never seen anyone combine intelligence, courage, and humility in such a way. The faint smile on her lips had grown slightly, just enough for the curious to notice. Even the rival suitors, previously so confident, were unsettled. Vorka's face darkened with jealousy and rage, but there was nothing he could do to undo the impression Alex had made. The princess rose from her balcony perch, her gaze never leaving the human. "You have done well, human. But this is only the beginning. Do you understand that being here, in this palace, is not a game?" Alex nodded. "I understand, princess. I am here to learn and to serve, if you will allow it." Lyra studied him for a long moment, the quiet hum of the palace echoing around them. "Most beings seek glory. You seek understanding. That is rare." Her words were soft, but they carried weight. The palace attendants whispered behind their hands, the nobles muttering among themselves. "She actually seems intrigued." As evening fell over Zylaris, the suns casting deep orange light across the crystal towers, Lyra returned to her private chambers. She paced slowly, thinking about the day's events. She had dismissed suitors with swords and jewels, displays of magic and wealth. Yet the human had stood out, not for what he could show, but for what he could understand. For the first time in many cycles, Lyra felt a spark of curiosity, a whisper of something she had not felt before. Could this small, unassuming human truly be different? Could he be the first being to earn her genuine interest? The palace doors closed behind her, but her thoughts lingered on the human. The curiosity she felt was dangerous, she knew. It could not be indulged lightly. Yet she could not ignore it. Outside, the stars of Zylaris twinkled, seemingly aware of the stirrings within the palace. Across the galaxy, countless beings would continue to seek her favor, but one human had already begun to change the rules entirely. The next morning, the palace of Zylaris buzzed with tension. Word of the human's quiet triumph over the palace's energy core had spread like wildfire among the attendants, guards, and even the alien suitors. None had expected such a small, fragile being to solve a problem that had stumped the galaxy's greatest minds. Princess Lyra observed from her balcony as Alex walked through the grand hall. Unlike the other suitors, he moved with humility, never flaunting his success. Yet every step he took seemed to command a subtle respect. The princess's curiosity deepened. "Observe him carefully," Lyra whispered to her closest aide, Seren, a silver-scaled alien who had served her for centuries. "There is something in him, something the others cannot see." Seren's multifaceted eyes followed Alex as he approached the breakfast hall, where the other suitors were already gathered. Many glared at him with envy. Others whispered, wondering if his luck would hold. Vorkers, the proud northern noble, leaned toward Krelton. "How did this human even get here? He is nothing compared to us." Krelton shrugged. "Luck, maybe, or the princess's strange fancy. Either way, he is dangerous in ways we cannot understand." Alex paid them no mind. He quietly accepted a seat at the far end of the hall and ate slowly, observing his surroundings. Unlike the aliens, he had no desire to dominate the room with flashy displays or arrogance. Instead, he asked thoughtful questions to those nearby, learning about the palace, its systems, and the lives of those who served within it. Lyra watched intently from above. There was something refreshing in his approach, something honest. None of the other suitors had bothered to learn anything beyond how to impress her. After breakfast, a sudden alarm rang through the palace. One of the outer defense grids had malfunctioned, leaving a sector of the palace vulnerable to attack from space raiders. Panic spread among the guards. Most of the suitors leaped forward, attempting to display strength or power. Jorath drew his massive sword, Sivara began morphing into a form that could repel attackers, and Krelton summoned mercenary robots from his treasure vault. Alex, however, remained calm. He approached the control console for the defense grid, scanning it carefully. Lyra descended from her balcony, moving toward him with a faint smile. "Show me what you can do, human." Alex nodded, his hands moving with precision. The grid was complicated, older than many of the palace's attendants realized. A simple command sequence would not restore it, it required observation, logic, and timing. He analyzed the code, bypassed damaged circuits, and rerouted energy flows. The aliens shouted, trying to interfere, but Alex ignored them. Within minutes, the defense grid hummed back to life, shields stabilizing across the outer walls. The palace was safe. A stunned silence followed. Guards and attendants stared in disbelief. The suitors, once proud and confident, looked embarrassed and defeated. The human, small and seemingly fragile, had done what no alien could. Lyra stepped closer, her eyes fixed on Alex. "You have done well," she said. "But more importantly, you understand. You see the system for what it is, not merely for its power or show. That is rare." Alex looked at her, curiosity and respect shining in his eyes. "I do not wish to impress, princess. I wish to understand, to help, if I can." Lyra's smile deepened, though still subtle. None of the suitors could match this combination of humility, intelligence, and courage. For centuries, she had seen beings attempt to capture her favor through strength, beauty, or wealth. None had succeeded, not until now. Later that evening, the palace held a grand banquet in honor of the visiting suitors. The hall was filled with dazzling lights, exotic delicacies, and the hum of interstellar music. The alien nobles flaunted their riches, their powers, and their exotic forms, each trying to outshine the other. Yet all eyes, including Lyra's, were drawn to Alex. Unlike the others, he did not attempt to show off. Instead, he engaged quietly with those around him, helping a clumsy attendant balance a tray, asking genuine questions, and listening intently to every answer. Slowly, even the guards and servants began to notice his sincerity. Lyra moved through the hall, observing him. The other suitors had tried everything to win her favor, flaunting swords, jewels, and exotic powers, but the human had done none of these things. And yet, he had captured her attention completely. As the night deepened, a confrontation erupted. Vorkers, humiliated by Alex's quiet triumphs, confronted him in the HFY. "You are nothing, a weak human. You have no right to stand here, much less earn the princess's attention." Alex remained calm. "I do not seek to compete with others, Vorkers. I only wish to be of help." Vorkers sneered and raised his energy blade, intending to intimidate him. But before he could act, Lyra stepped between them. Her aura flared, a subtle display of her power. "Enough," she said, her voice ringing through the hall. "He is here under my protection. Any further action, and you will answer to me directly." The hall fell silent. Even the bravest suitors understood the weight of her words. Vorkers seethed but stepped back. Alex looked at Lyra, gratitude in his eyes, though he did not bow. "Thank you, princess," he said simply. The night ended with the suitors dispersing, each retreating with their pride wounded, their attempts at winning the princess's favor failing spectacularly. Only Alex remained calm, his focus entirely on understanding Lyra and the palace he now called home. In the quiet hours, Lyra found herself in her private gardens, staring at the stars. Alex had shown courage, intelligence, and humility. He had faced challenges that would have daunted even the strongest alien warrior. But more than that, he had shown genuine respect, not only for her, but for the lives of everyone in the palace. For the first time, Lyra felt something stir within her that she had not experienced in centuries, curiosity mixed with admiration, and a growing sense of connection. When she returned to her chambers, she found Alex waiting quietly, as if he had known she would come. "Princess Lyra," he said softly, "you asked me to help. I wish only to do what I can." Lyra studied him, her eyes reflecting the distant stars outside the window. "And you have done more than that, human," she said. "You have shown me something I did not know I was seeking." Alex tilted his head, curiosity shining in his eyes. "And what is that, princess?" Lyra's lips curved into a faint, genuine smile. "You have shown me the value of heart and mind over power and wealth. You have reminded me that true strength often comes from understanding, not domination." A silence fell between them, filled only by the soft hum of the palace's systems. For a moment, neither spoke, yet an unspoken connection had formed, something deeper than admiration, something that promised the possibility of change, growth, and perhaps even love. The following morning, news spread across Zylaris. The princess had spoken to the human privately, in a way she had never done with any alien suitor. Whispers ran through the palace, from the guards to the nobles. "The human has captured her attention. He is different from all the others." Lyra, however, remained composed, though her thoughts were far from idle. She reflected on the events of the past 2 days, the failure of the suitors, the bravery of Alex, and the quiet moments that revealed his true character. Something told her that this was only the beginning. Meanwhile, Alex continued to learn and adapt, helping where he could, asking questions where he could not. His presence brought unexpected changes to the palace. Guards began to respect him not out of fear, but admiration. The attendants found themselves willing to follow his guidance. Even some of the suitors who had initially mocked him began to reconsider their assumptions. Lyra observed all of this quietly. Her fascination grew, as did a subtle tension she had not felt before. The human was more than clever or brave, he was a spark, a catalyst that challenged the entire hierarchy of her world. At the end of the day, Lyra returned to her balcony, gazing at the stars that stretched infinitely above Zylaris. She whispered to herself, almost as if confessing to the night, "This human, he may just be the one who changes everything." As the suns dipped below the crystalline horizon, the palace settled into quiet anticipation. Across the galaxy, beings continued to seek the princess's favor, unaware that the rules had already begun to change. For Princess Lyra, the future was no longer defined by the grandeur of alien suitors, but by the courage, intellect, and heart of a small human who had dared to see her, not as a prize, but as a being to understand. And so, in the glowing halls of Zylaris, a new chapter began. One where power, wealth, and influence could no longer guarantee favor. One where the heart and mind of a human might outshine the greatest beings the galaxy had ever known.